Everybody, I'm Mike. Welcome to my channel. Are you hearing from other artists that if you can't draw from imagination, you're a bad artist or that you suck? This is a great video for you because I'm going to dispel all of that, and then I'm going to also give you some exercises and things that you can do in order to help your imaginative work. Let's get started. So I'm going to break this video into two parts. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is how to dispel some of those outright wrong things out there about drawing from imagination. Then I'll go into exercises to help you draw from imagination. Also, just as a full disclosure, be aware the first half of the video is me drawing with reference and the second half is me drawing from imagination. Everything is also on 2 times speed, so it's not too boring for you. Let's get going. So the first thing is, are you a bad artist if you can't draw everything from imagination? The answer to that is absolutely not. It drives me just bonkers hearing people say this. Drawing from imagination is a result of consistently drawing with reference. Don't let people in the art community or otherwise tear you down if you're still working on developing your imaginative pieces. Next, you should stop using reference if you can draw everything from imagination. No. In order to build that up, that imagination up, you need to draw from references consistently. I'm going to go over this in the next section, but once you hit a point where you're stuck in your drawing, you should find references that will help you draw that thing that you're stuck with. This is the only way you can really learn. Another myth: you can learn by just drawing from imagination more. No, drawing from imagination is a great exercise because it helps you solidify what you think you know, and it allows you to get better at problem solving what you're still having difficulties with. But don't make this mistake of not using reference when you're drawing, or just drawing from imagination from this point on once you feel comfortable with it. Imaginative drawing is really just you drawing from your visual library or your memory. And your memory is only built up from references. That can be references from other artists or from real life. Another way to kind of build this up for yourself as well is to really look at everything around you and break it down into a way that makes sense so that you can draw it later. Being able to look at things and break it down more is such a really good skill for artists because it does allow for you to take that object and spin it around in perspective and draw it from different angles. So that is how you can build up your imaginative visual library, but don't make the mistake of just drawing from imagination from this point forward once you're comfortable, because you're not going to learn. Finally, the last myth: you can't create a manga, comic, or illustration without being able to draw from imagination. This one is so wrong that it hurts. Be wary of artists who try to tell you you can't create without having imaginative work. Good artists will consistently use reference to either speed up their process or to make parts of their work look better. For me, I'm pretty comfortable drawing a good amount of poses from imagination at this point, but I'm constantly looking at references to check my work if it doesn't feel right. You should do the same, and don't listen to those people shaming you. Using references properly can be an entirely different video, but I also don't want you to hear that I'm advocating for you to copy. Make sure you're making it your own. Alright, now for the more practical skills. In my previous video about this topic, I talked about a few steps to help you draw from imagination. Just as a recap, those steps were creating a mannequin, using the mannequin for your gesture drawing, then trying to recreate gestures that you practiced from imagination. I still 100% support these points. I'm not going to go over all of those things again today, so please visit that video by going into the upper right hand corner if you'd like to view that. So once you've developed all of these things and started to practice, I want to help you practice a little better. Be sure to practice poses that will be helpful for you in the future. For instance, if you're a manga artist like myself, you want to practice poses that are foreshortened, have dynamic angles, and are action oriented. Now, on the other hand, if you are just a character designer, for instance, those kinds of poses aren't going to be helpful for you. As a character designer, you would want to do poses of like standing poses and things like that, because character design is about getting across the most information in the clearest way possible, whereas a manga artist needs to get across a story a little bit better than a character designer might. So, in order to help you with this process, you also want to find a set of 20 to 50 poses that you consistently practice. It doesn't help to draw a different set of poses every day with no overlap. You won't retain portions of those poses that are really going to be important for your growth. And it's just too much information that's being inputted rather than getting similar poses over and over again. That's what really helps you memorize those poses and be able to recall them when you go to draw from imagination. Next, you want to understand the story you're trying to tell with the character or scene that you're drawing. What do I mean by that? So sometimes when we go into working on a piece, we don't really have a clear idea of what we want to actually draw. I know that might sound a little crazy, but having a clear idea doesn't just mean I just want to draw a cool looking character with a sword. Well, what is that character doing with the sword? Are they just resting on it? Are they using it against somebody? Are there other characters in the scene? Where is the scene? Is it in a desert? Is it, on top of water? Maybe they're magic. All of those kinds of things are really important in order to be able to take things that you already know from your memory or your visual library and apply it to your imaginative work. My theory on this is that that's why some people think that they have aphantasia, which is the kind of consideration where you feel like you're not capable of having mental imagery. While some people do have that specific phenomenon, not everybody does. Creating a story for the scene that you want to draw is vital in your effort to not being paralyzed by a blank canvas. So the next thing that's really important is to push yourself. You want to go as far as you can with every piece of artwork that you draw from your imagination. And then what do, right? So after you've gotten up to the point where you have a gap of your knowledge or you feel lost, you want to then start to kind of cycle in some references of the things that you feel lost on. When you do that, you want to do two different things. One, you want to use those references to help you with your current problem. Mark Brunet actually made a really good video on this very topic a few weeks ago. He talks about how he doesn't just use it to help him with that problem, but he also studies that subject for like an hour or 30 minutes or so and draws it in different angles and things like that so that he has a better understanding of how to use it in the future. You can do that. And then my other recommendation for you is to save those reference images in a folder on your desktop so that you have it for the future. That way you can go back to the same kinds of images that you found before and gather similar information so that you have more consistency in your imaginative work. So now you want to find recipes. So drawing from imagination is all about having a recipe for each thing you intend to draw. This is actually what style is, your answer to a problem when drawing. For instance, there are thousands of ways to simplify the human body, and I kind of talked about this in my last imaginative video about creating mannequins, but how do you simplify the muscles in the arms? What about the legs? Once you have the figure done, how do you simplify clothing folds in a logical way? So finding simple recipes for all of these problems will help you draw from imagination more consistently and have consistent looking drawings. The way that you can discover recipes is to start from real life references. Then when you feel really lost about how you're seeing things and whether or not you can draw it in an accurate way, then you can start to look at how some of your favorite artists draw those kinds of things. So for instance, how does Akira Toriyama draw hair? How does Proko simplify shading? How does the Demon Slayer anime use cell shading? Those are questions you may want to be asking as you try to find these recipes for yourself. But finally, take your time. Understand that this is an ongoing process. Be patient with yourself as you try to learn how to draw from imagination or just in general. it takes a really long time to learn art as a skill set, and that's okay, right? Don't allow other people to tell you otherwise. Don't allow yourself to tell you otherwise. Create great art and work as hard as you can at it. Be patient, be kind, be gentle. With this point as well, I don't want you to feel like you should settle with your artwork either. If there's something that's bothering you, fix it and keep fixing it until it no longer bothers you. This is going to do two things. It's going to result in the best possible product, and it's also going to help you grow as an artist. The more that you settle with your work, the more entrenched in bad habits you will become, and it's going to stunt your overall growth as an artist. Now, another thing that's really important with this whole process, and hopefully that you've pulled from this video, is that you should find yourself really working towards just doing things that make you happy, right? You don't want to just be creating pieces just to create them because, for instance, you want to be popular on Instagram or whatever. People aren't going to care about your work unless you do. So just make sure you yourself are fulfilled with what you're doing and with the journey. That's the most important part about doing art. Alrighty, that'll be it for the different things to help you. We're gonna wrap it up. Alright everybody, that's the video. I hope that it was helpful for you. I hope that you learned something. And again, please leave some comments down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, sub if you haven't already, and I'll be back with another one real soon. Alright, take care.